Hello and welcome to a new video. Today I'm going to be showing you how to remove a strut on a 2012 to 2018 Ford Focus, and I'm sure this tutorial works with older generations too because it's a fairly simple setup. First thing you need to do is disconnect this bolt and this bolt. That is an 8 and that's a 15. That little bracket comes off here, and that should come loose like this. Our bolt is out. You need to take this and kind of, pull it out of there and move it down there. For the next part, what you're going to want to do is take this is a 13, and remove these 3 bolts right here. Torquing bolts, this is for both videos, tutorial and long form. So what you need to do is get a screwdriver in there
or
something, and then take a hammer or a blunt object and create a gap in here. Okay. To explain that step a little better than my tired, hungry, less sleep deprived than I currently am self. Basically, what you're doing is you're taking a object that is pointy and shoving it in there and then giving you leverage. Doesn't matter what it is, just get it in there somehow. And you may have to check, because sometimes it does like to pop out.
3 days later.
In our case, getting it out involves lining up this top bolt, keep one in so you know where you're aligned, and it makes it just that little bit easier to hammer out. If this shock is like this one where it's 236,000 miles old and doesn't want to go anywhere, PB Blaster, WD-40, this kind of stuff's your friend. Next step is you get some spring compressors and you get this. This is a 21 mil socket on a swivel on a power drill.
3 days later.
Okay, so this previous step wasn't very well explained. So the strut wasn't moving. It was very happy sitting where it was. So what ended up happening was, if you notice in the next clip, you get strut spring compressors, and you got to put them in the front of the spring. If you put them on the sides, you either can't adjust them or they hit the top mounting point where your bolts would go. So you put them in the front and then use the 21, and you use the drill with the 21 millimeter socket, or you use a wrench. You adjust it to how you need to, and then someone pushes down on the brake on the bottom by the rotor and caliper, and then the other person wiggles it around and then moves it up, and then eventually the end goal is you get the bottom of the strut to lift all the way out, and then you can take it out of the mount. That's probably the hardest part, and well, as I explained, it took quite a while. This is for the tutorial video. So this is the front of your strut, at least with this car, because it's a pain in the ass. These are for holding down the springs. You got to put them on the front, tighten them, but not to the point where they're hitting the arch. And then you have to have one guy or one person holding down the brake by the rotor and the caliper, and the other moving it around. And then it'll finally come out. And as for not breaking your axle in the process, that's a tow strap holding it up. It'll work for now. It's kind of jerry-rigged, but it'll function. Alright, that's the new strut coming in. The old one showed about a 48-minute fight. So what's going to happen next is he is going to prop the strut like that. I'm sorry for the poor lighting. And then he's going to push it up into the cavern up there, a little lower, and up here I'm going to take the bolts And basically the 13s, put them in where they came out. We'll go from
That's it. Okay, now switch that over.
You need to check if your strut is professionally seated with a block of wood and a jack. In our case, it isn't. What you need to do is take your 10, your 15, and put this back in. Don't forget to put never season the bolts.
So you're supposed to put Loctite.
This is for the tutorial video, the torque specs for some of these bolts. This is 35, I know it's not coming through in the camera, and this back bolt back there is 65. As for our 13s on the top, torque them down to 26 foot-pounds. It's a 12, not a 13 on these aftermarket bolts. The tutorial. Here we see struts in, all is good. I'm hungry, so time to finish it up and put the rest of this car together.